I'm glad to meet you in software testing meetup in Abu Dhabi, even though I'm from Canada. So have a good day. It's 10 a.m. in Canada, I guess so. So let me just start with introduction of myself. So my name is Riabtseva. I'm coming from Minsk, Belarus, and currently I'm living in Toronto, Canada. It's gonna be our 5th year in February. And my previous career and education was related to tourism and hospitality, actually. And during pandemic, I made my tremendous switch into tech, and I found my first job as QA analyst in Canadian SAAS startup. I just wanted to share with you some interesting stats which I found. So you can see that from 2020 to 2030, there is prediction of growth of IT jobs, which is 13%, which is quite big enough. Another interesting fact that nowadays the ratio of men and women in engineering is 5-1. I think it's quite huge ratio we can see here. But in nowadays, especially in North America, we can see a lot of companies, for example, Amazon, they are putting lots of efforts to reduce this ratio. For example, Amazon is providing lots of free courses for building clouds. And they are also providing you free vouchers for free exams. So it's quite good times for us female to switch into tech industry, I guess. Another fun fact that according to Career Bliss, QA analyst was worked the second in the happiest jobs, 2018. So I hope you're one of those who feel that they're the happiest one. So like once I made my switch and I found my first job in QA, quite often I'm asked, is it enough one QA course to get this dream job actually? And honestly, I think it's not enough. For example, in my case, it was quite a long way. It took for me 1 year to understand what is QA and feel confident enough to apply for jobs positions. So first I started with Python coding with Stanford University. And then I took my QA course. It's like an IT school in Canada. And it took me around 7 months to learn automation, software testing methodology, and so on and so forth. So definitely the answer here is no. It takes lots of efforts, time. And I think none of one QA course can give you all this pack of information, automation, coding, and all methodological knowledge as well. So whenever people ask me, I always give them advice to learn at least one programming language. It can be JavaScript, Java, Python, and so on. It's quite good for you. First of all, you understand logics of coding. And secondly, once you're doing later software testing, it's good to know about it once you're testing. It's quite a big advantage, I guess. Another good thing is to learn more and read more about Agile and Scrum. Probably it's good to grab one book and read about it, because sometimes in a course we just get like 1 or 2 lessons regarding it, and it's not enough to understand in depth, right? So we should understand more about what is the roles of each team member in Scrum, what is how is going each sprint, and so on and so forth. And usually during interviews, all these kind of questions are asked. So you should not be prepared to answer those. And another thing here, even you're already studying, don't be afraid to apply for some beta testing platforms, such as UTest, Uber Testers, Testers Work, and so on. Most probably they don't require for any experience yet, but there is some small testing like exam. So they just want to know that you're familiar with testing methodological and so on. And once you pass this test, you're good to go. And especially in North America, we have lots of big companies, for example, Canadian banks or some Airbnb, and they're looking for beta testers. They want you to test their products and give them feedback. So it's quite good opportunities as well. So once you got enrolled in a course and you completed your course, it's time to apply for a job. But you should feel confident enough, I guess, for this. So first of all, in nowadays, I guess once I applied for my first job and I learned that for my QA positions, there was around 1,000 applicants. So it's quite huge competition. And first of all, especially in Canada, we can say that some part of these applicants are people same like me who have no any experience. Another part are people who came from other countries who already have experience. So we need to compete with these people as well. So I always suggest to have some strategy. So first of all, identify the most popular software and technical skills. Identify the most popular testing tools, testing types. For example, the most popular is API testing, software test, security testing. The one you should know, did bash, commands line, and so on and so forth. So it's quite good enough to understand it in advance, and based on it, build your resume. Another thing here is good to find mentor. In LinkedIn, you can find lots of people who have like more than 10 years of experience and they're ready for mentorship. That's how I found my mentor on LinkedIn, and I had few sessions with him, but it was quite great to understand how he's doing testing, what is trends in software testing, especially North America. And you can get all this experience from them, and it gives you extra confidence. Another thing here, I think it's good to read software testing literature. There are numerous books, and these kind of books can give you extra understanding of how processes are going inside company, how teams are working between them, how is communication between software developers, software testers, and so on. For example, during my interviews, I was asked lots of questions which I had no idea about because I didn't have experience, right? But I could understand how to answer them based on this literature which I read before. So I had like a good theoretical knowledge. Another thing, listen to QA interviews. I guess especially in the Russian speaking community, we have nowadays lots of QA interviews which are broadcasted in YouTube. So I was listening lots of these interviews. I could hear lots of questions, and I was trying to answer them by myself. So it's like good preparation for a real interview in advance. Another thing here, I think quite often once you apply for some jobs, they will ask you to test physical objects, for example, pen, toaster, or chair. So just try to practice while you're at home before any interview and give you good understanding, and you will be prepared in advance. You will be not like in stress situation. Also, it's good while you are studying, you start creating test plan, test case, you create your first automation script. Collect all these examples and in your repository in GitHub, and provide link for this repository in your resume. So actually employees, they can see your real examples of your works, not just statements and your resume. It's quite a good trick. And just remember that interview preparation is equals to full-time job. It takes lots of time and effort, and you should be flexible enough for interviews and to be able to do technical homework. So once you found your first job, congratulations, but here's another challenge. You need to pass your probation period successfully. So first of all, be open for enormous information. So once you get enrolled in a company, you have onboarding a huge amount of information regarding product itself, regarding company, regarding QA processes. You should read all this documentation, all requirements. Like, you don't be overwhelmed, just take step by step. Secondly, here, don't leave questions unanswered. If you don't understand something during stand-up or something was not clear for you in the requirements, ask your teammates, ask your team lead. I guess they will be more than happy to answer your questions. The most important thing here, don't be afraid to take responsibility. For example, for me, while I was still in my probation period, but I was already testing some features. Sometimes I was missing some bugs, and I was finding them in prod environment. So I was taking responsibility for my mistakes, and I felt that it was very highly appreciated by my team. Because first of all, you take responsibility for your mistake, and secondly, they know that next time you will not repeat same mistakes, you will improve yourself. Another thing here is teamwork is everything. I believe that it's very important to create some bond with your teammates. You should have a friendly, nice environment between all of you. And then, it's much more easier to work, and everything is much more efficient. So, whenever you feel some miscommunication, communicate it to your team lead, talk with your teammates. Even if you're working remotely, it's good to have some extra chats, call-in Slacks, and so on. Sometimes companies arrange team dates when we all play some funny games and so on. It's quite good also. Also, once you're new in company, within the 3 months, see and analyze product and give feedbacks to your team. I guess all of companies, they try to take advantage of it, because once you are new, you are fresh, right? They can use it to see the product with fresh eyes, you can say. And if you see that something doesn't make sense for you, doesn't look good enough, just communicate it to your product manager, and they will take it into consideration later. But once you're already working company 1 or few years, product seems to be that it's the way it should be, right? So you will not notice some features which doesn't make sense actually. And another thing here, especially for me, while I came from another industry without any tech background, I need to fulfill tech knowledge gaps every day. Sometimes I talk with developers and I don't understand what they're talking about. So I need to ask them extra questions. And later, after in my free time, I need to read something about it, how everything works, how web is built from backend, and so on and so forth. So it's good to do it. And here the last question, manual QA, or what to do next. So I think that sometimes people enter IT and they identify QA analyst as like entry position, right? Like, okay, I just become a QA analyst and later I will switch to product manager or business analyst. So I think it's not right understanding. QA itself very broad and very interesting field, we can say, and you can develop yourself here enormously. We have every day some new tools. Tools are developing continuously. You can do automation, you can do manual testing, and so on and so forth. So it's quite interesting field. And secondly, I think once you like 8 or 6 months in a company as a manual QA, as for me, for example, it's time to think about specialization. It can be automation testing, security testing, performance testing, mobile testing, or just web testing, right? It's good to find your own like focus and focus on it. This kind of specialists are highly appreciated on market. And secondly, your opportunities are limited here. I think the only sky is limit. You can definitely you can understand that QA is not your thing later, and you can switch to product management or business analyst or something else. You can become developer maybe. So like I think it's quite good environment to grow and develop yourself. It's only all depends on yourself. That's all from my side. I guess it was useful for you.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Thank you very much. I have a lot of questions for you. First question I'd like to ask is, how did you find your mentor? How many messages did you write to reach the right person? How it was?
Yeah, so I found my mentor straight away. I just posted in one software testing community in LinkedIn. I was like, okay, guys, like, do you know any mentor? And they messaged me the name of my mentor. And he messaged me by himself. Actually, I didn't need to message him privately. He just, okay, hello, do you want me to be your mentor? I said, yeah, of course. This was quite easy.
Yeah, as far as I know, your mentor was Michael Bolton, right?
Yeah, Michael Bolton, he's very famous in North America and he's doing his own courses. So I would like to attend his course later, but it's quite pricey.
Yeah, and he's very famous, and as far as I remember, he even gave some talks in Russian testing conferences. So he's like a star in the testing field.
Yeah, he's star.
So yeah, you found a good coach for you.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. You told that you may suggest people to start looking for some tasks from these Uber-like services for testing, and it's interesting for me. Is it hard to find something to practice and to be paid for? How it works? Can you just briefly explain? For example, I'm completely new to the testing and I want to earn a lot of money or to get a lot of experience.
Yeah, I don't think you can make a lot of money, but I think it's all depends on your location. For example, for North America, for us, it's very easy to get enrolled in different projects. So, like for example, UTest is a huge platform. I always suggest everybody to enroll there. They have very small tests in the beginning, and later, once you enroll, you can apply for different projects. And once you start building your rating, they have different ratings there. Once you have high rating, you get enrolled in more and more projects. So like every week you can do 2-3 projects, and it's also well paid. Actually, like they paid like for example $25 till $60 per 1 hour of work. So it's pretty good money for North America, I guess.
Yeah, it's quite good rate, I would say. And if we are talking about just newcomers, I think it's very well paid, and you get the experience, and you may reference the projects you have tested previously. It's quite useful, I think.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that it's really useful to give a link for GitHub. What kind of information people can post on GitHub if they are starts only with manual QA, with manual testing. They may be afraid that, it's not like enough what they can post on GitHub.
Yeah, so they can start with bug reports, for example. Submit the, you can start with test plan. You can start anyway, like during manual testing. I think we all learn about SQL or anything like this. So you can post this kind of scripts there. So actually, anything what you learned in your course, just post there because you note everything in your resume. So it's good to have real examples there. I think it's quite, it will impress employee for sure.
As far as I know, you have started with Python. Did you try other languages? Why did you choose the Python?
Yeah, so I started with Python because Stanford University they gave this course as a gift to the world during pandemic, and I passed exam and I like Python actually. But right now in my company they use only JavaScript, so I learned basics of JavaScript, and now I'm switching to automation slowly in Cypress. So now I'm learning JavaScript actually, and I don't use Python. So I guess I start forgetting Python already, but the logic is everywhere same actually, right?
Yeah. I think no matter what kind of language you start to learn, but later on, any new on top will be much easier. And for example, I often suggest just to choose something that has many libraries and testing tools. And as you mentioned, I also totally agree that Java, JavaScript, or Python are really like top three languages because ecosystem for them are huge. You have a lot of uh, quite mature projects to start with, and a lot of information on the internet is available. Okay, and also you mentioned that for one open position, employer may have like 1,000 CVs, right?
Yeah.
So how to bypass this filter? Did you try to use, different CVs for different employees to put some keywords? What was your like uh, strategy to bypass the first filter? Because they have some systems that will just go through your PDF and you will go on the right or on the left even without human being. So
Yeah, so like whenever I found some position which I can apply actually, so I made my resume according to this position. So whatever like they have skills, for example, API test. So I put API testing if I really know it, right? So I made based on this position, and later I think you should be among the first one to apply actually, because I know they told me like we didn't look even all through all this 1,000 resume. We only looked through 51st one. So I think it's about luck actually as well. So you should be among the first one to apply for at least 50 people, and then you should create your resume according to these positions, and you have all chances to be noticed. And just answer call once they have a screening call.
And how many screen calls did you have before like the real interview?
So I had one screening call, and then I had like interviews HR, and they don't know lots of about technology, right? So like they were just asking me some, they giving me some tasks, some general questions, and later after these two first calls, I got 3 real interviews regarding technical skills, and it was like it was like huge exam for me.
I understand that the first interviews may be very stressful because you don't know how you will behave on the pressure. So what is your impression? What was done right before the interview? What you can recommend for the newcomers who will go for their first interview?
Yeah, so I think even if like I can say that once you apply for the junior positions, they always put this at a minimum requirement 1 to 2 years of experience. So I think most of all they're looking for that you have experience. That's why lots of the questions regarding okay, how will you do this situation? I was thinking, how can I answer these questions, guys? I never worked in the company, right? You know about it. So I think this literature which I read before, it gave him very big support and confidence. So I was given answer based on this literature actually, because I knew okay, this is how it's supposed to be ideally based on this book. So this helped me a lot. Otherwise, I could freak out. So why are you asking me this? You know?
Yeah, I think this is the most annoying part of the getting the first job, that no one wants to put like, we may hire anybody from the street without the experience. So every company starts putting 1 year plus, 2 years, whatsoever. And if you don't have the experience, it's like the problem between the chicken and the egg, how you can get this job. So yeah, and I think also it's important uh, to say no, or to say I don't know, if you're really in like in a position that they ask something you're really new to. Because sometimes I see people that trying like to guess, to make some prediction, and if you will choose this way, it may be not so profitable for you. For example, myself, I can always say that I don't test this field, or I didn't touch this one, and it's quite okay, I guess. What do you think about? You told that you were questioned about something you have never touched, and you try to answer using your theoretical knowledge from the books. But let's say you have never read about the topic, how you will answer on it.
I think it depends on kind of question. Even some technical question like how would you test IPI or something like. So of course, if you don't know, you don't know. But if there is some logical kind of question, like they just want to see how you think, what's your logics, right? Then it's good to give attempt at least. You should not say I don't know. So it depends on kind of questions.
Mm-hmm. You also mentioned that usually employer wants to ask some questions from the physical world, how to test chair, toaster, whatsoever. But do you see now the problems, like, there were big, like, I would say, uh, a time when employers try to use very tricky questions, or something like about how to weight the huge helicopter, or how to calculate, I don't know, something in the middle of the desert whatsoever. Do you think such kind of questions, do they really help to understand something about the candidate?
Mm,
What's your opinion?
I like I don't know. I think it's enough just to ask like test this pen for me just to see what how person think. But it's this kind of it's like logical task. And that's once I was doing my QA course, there was special like lesson about interview preparation, and they were given list all these questions actually that you could know answers in advance. So I don't think that it works in nowadays because everybody already knows this task and everybody know answers in advance. So I don't think it makes sense. And actually, I was not asked this kind of question. I think it's old fashioned. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I think nowadays it's better just to ask something similar you expect to work,
Yeah.
because if you want to ask something and never touch it in the project, I don't see any like connection. Why do you ask this, like, let's say some rocket science question, and then you end up with some API calls during your testing. That's funny. Okay, I really appreciate that you prepared the talk. It was really interesting, and I think for everyone who is new to the testing, it will be beneficial to learn from people who just got their job, because this is the most valuable knowledge. Thank you, Kate.